Just a moment.
The old woman turns back to the cafeteria manager.
And there's no public phones nearby?
The closest phone booth is down the coast. Sorry for the inconvenience, ma'am.
The cafeteria manager appears genuinely apologetic.
It's fine, I understand. Thank you anyway.
She don't.
I'm glad to see you again, dear.
She turns back to you with a weary smile.
The lady is distressed. Perhaps something more upbeat might cheer her up.
Howdy, Lena, what's kicking? Good day, ma'am. Everything alright? Sorry, ma'am, I didn't mean to eavesdrop on your conversation. Tell me how I might make it up to you. What's kicking?
Please don't trouble yourself about me, sweetie. I was just hoping to make a call, but the Whirling's phone line isn't working.
A faint smile tells you she appreciates the effort, but at the moment her mind is on more serious matters.
The union office probably has a phone, but I can't really get there. Or to the phone booth down the coast. And Gary's phone is dead too.
Wait, what's wrong with the phone line?
The manager was vague about it.
She frowns.
Why would he be vague about phone problems? This is something to look into later. Ask God, maybe.
Why did you need to use the phone anyway?
To let the young woman who's house-sitting for us know that we may be delayed. Morel, my husband, and our friend Gary were supposed to get back by Monday night, but they're still missing, and I haven't heard from them. I was also hoping she'd heard from Morel.
She looks down. Okay, I'll bite. Has your husband gone missing before? This sounds more like a side thing. I need to take care of my main thing, then I'll get back to this. I will take the quests, I think.
That's just it. This isn't like him at all. He always plans his expeditions so carefully.
A cold breeze hisses through dense thickets of reeds. Something sweet in it, somnolent. A damp chill goes down your spine. When you look around, you're still in the whirling in rags.
But you have more important things to worry about.
She glances out the window towards the bay. What is this expedition your husband was on?
Just some field work, sweetie. Morel is a highly trained scientist. He and his assistant Gary are studying an extremely rare species of insect. But they should have returned by now. They were just going down the coast across the waterlock to set a few traps. He said they'd be back on Monday. What could be keeping them?
The waterlock, that was broken. Could this be it?
Wait, who is this Gary person? Do you trust him?
Oh, sweetie, it's nothing like that.
She smiles.
Gary's as loyal as they come. I trust him with my husband's life any day.
The waterlock to the other side of the coast is broken. They're probably just stuck over there.
Oh my. What happened to the waterlock?
You may not believe it, but it looks like some maniac crashed his motor carriage into it. Wouldn't you know, it's blocked by a big butter billboard. It fell right into the water. Probably just some technical problem. I really don't know. Let's go with the first one.
Oh, sweetie, if it weren't for you, I'd be looking forward to another sleepless night. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you both.
You're welcome, ma'am.
I hate to ask, but if your investigation takes you to the other side of the coast, please do keep an eye out for my husband.
This will surely lead to a cryptozoological mystery with that extremely rare insect.
And if you see him, let him know Lena is waiting for him here at the Whirling. He gets so tangled up in his work that he may not know the waterlock's been repaired. And it's cold out there.
Let me quickly check something. That gave us a good cop point, I assume. If I see him, I'll let him know. I'll find some ways to get some more bad cop points.
Thank you, sweetie.
Okay, that's still -1. So your husband is some kind of scientist?
Oh, yes. A zoologist. A cryptozoologist, to be more precise.
What is cryptozoology?
It's a pseudoscience that attempts to legitimize research into mythological beasts and urban legends.
The lieutenant sounds unimpressed.
That's one opinion, yes. And people are entitled to their opinions.
My apologies, ma'am. I did not mean to undermine your hobby.
It's not a hobby, dear. It's a subfield of zoology, one specializing in animal species that are so exceedingly rare that many assume them to be extinct or even fictitious. Searching for such species called cryptids is difficult and often thankless, and frankly, many scientists are too lazy to do it. Universities these days are rarely interested in supporting real research.
She's completely internalized her husband's struggles. They are her own.
Okay, tell me more about Morel, looks, character, your relationship.
Oh dear, I'm not sure where to begin.
What does your husband look like?
Well, his expression is slightly grumpy, but his eyes are always bright and curious, like a small boy's. And his palms are quite coarse from all the field work, but he's quite gentle.
It's always a challenge to describe the person you know best in the world.
Let's try again. If I were trying to meet him on the street, what would I look for? That's good enough. Let me let me ask you for something else. That's good enough.
I'm sorry, sweetie. I'm afraid I'm not very good at this sort of thing.
How long have you been married?
We'll be celebrating our 16th anniversary this autumn. Not the most numerically satisfying anniversary, but I like the less obvious milestones even more somehow.
How did the two of you meet?
By a dating agency, I'm ashamed to say. I was looking to get back into the scene after recovering from my accident, and he'd just divorced. We hit it off, and, well, here we are.
She smiles wistfully.
She's skipping over some important parts. Perhaps you'll find out more later.
I think I have all the information I need. Let's move on.
I hope I've been useful.
Tell me more about this rare insect your husband is looking for.
Oh, sweetie, it's fascinating. But I shouldn't bore you with entomological minutiae.
The lieutenant gives you a sideways glance.
No, I want to hear about the insect. You're right. No, I want to hear about the insect.
Well, it's a phasmid, technically, but
Oh yeah. Here comes the interesting.
Hell yeah.
where other phasmids imitate sticks or leaves, this one's a living reed. It disguises itself among the reeds here on the Insular Indian coast.
Okay.
Hence its name, the Insular Indian phasmid. Perhaps you'll end up co-discovering the phasmid with us, officers.
She looks you in the eye and nods thoughtfully.
There's a touch of awe in the way she enunciated the creature's name.
I knew it. We're gonna be chasing made-up insects with cryptozoologists.
It's not made up, officer. I can assure you. It's simply elusive, so much so that most establishment zoologists doubt it exists at all.
What makes you think the phasmid is around here?
Well, some teenagers making out in the reeds saw one. They didn't know what it was, of course, but there was a brief article in a local newspaper about their encounter with a ghost insect that looks like the reeds. Gary sent us the clipping.
So newspaper clipping is all the evidence you have?
Of course, most phasmid sightings turn out to be false alarms, but their description matched the Insular Indian phasmid perfectly, and they didn't even know what they were looking at.
So is it dangerous?
Not at all. Why else would it hide itself so carefully?
Is it valuable?
Oh, I doubt it. No one gets into cryptozoology for the money, sweetie.
Does it have cool powers?
Yes, it can blend in almost perfectly among the reeds. It's how it stayed hidden all these years, centuries even.
Okay, what's so special about the stick bug then?
Oh dear, I'm afraid I'm not explaining this very well. It is very special.
The woman's face flushes with embarrassment.
Morel can explain it all much better. I wish you could hear him describe it. Then you'd understand, I'm sure.
Okay, before I try this check, I'm quickly gonna get some water because I completely forgot getting any before I sat down here. So I'll be right back. Okay, let's try this.
There's really no point in manipulating anyone. She'd be only too pleased to tell you about her work. Go on and ask.
Hey, Lena, I'd like to hear about some of the cryptids you've studied. Could you just tell me about a couple of them?
Oh, I'd be delighted. Truth be told, I could really use the company too.
One cryptid, not a couple. One. This won't turn into some kind of cryptid extravaganza.
Cryptid Extravaganza? I like the sound of that.
And I don't. Just one.
Or he'll be disappointed in you.
Okay, what's the biggest cryptid? What's the tiniest cryptid? What's the most dangerous cryptid? Is that a cryptid on the pen you gave me? Are there any invisible cryptids? This has been educational. Sadly, we need to discuss something else. Last time I only did one of those. I don't think it's on the list though. I don't know how I unlocked the other one. Oh yeah, right, I remember. We probably unlocked that later, yeah. And I only asked that one. So this time I'm probably gonna ask more. But yeah, I'm just gonna ask about the pen for reasons.
Yes. It's the kind green ape. Half war story, half undiscovered species in the genus Homo.
A war story?
Yes, it was reported by soldiers in South Safra during the war. The kind green ape would visit bunkers during the night, healing wounded soldiers with its saliva.
Wow, with its saliva?
Yes, it has amazing healing qualities. Some soldiers reported growing back limbs, regaining their sight.
And there was something about an undiscovered subspecies of man?
Indeed, there is. It's our closest relative among the cryptids. Same taxonomic family, different genus. Which is to say, the kind green ape is a species with which we share a common ancestor, and that evolved parallel to our own. Just like your partners.
Yeah, this is something that I only found out later, that she would say something like that because I didn't click that option. So for a playthrough where I'm a complete asshole, I just kind of have to go down that route. I knew it, Kim, you're not human. I'm pretty sure Kim is the same species as us. To suggest otherwise is stupid. That's right, I always have to take the lead, right, Kim? That's why I always have to take the lead, right, Kim? Let's go with number 3 because it's the worst thing.
I'm beginning to wonder if I should.
Please don't misunderstand me, either of you. I didn't mean to imply that Saolites are inferior to us. In many ways, you are superior. For example, your earwax doesn't have a foul odor like ours does.
A tremendous evolutionary advantage, I'm sure. But perhaps we've had enough speculative biology for today?
Let me take a look. Still didn't give us a bad cop point. That's just I suppose, an asshole point. What's the biggest cryptid?
Hey, you promised you'd only ask about one cryptid.
But Kim, don't you want to hear about another cryptid too?
The lieutenant pauses thoughtfully. Something in him breaks.
Ah, fuck it. Let's have more cryptids.
Well, the biggest cryptid is, of course, the horrible giant of Kokonur. The giant lives in the most arid parts of the vast Kokonur Desert in South Samara, casting a strange light across the barren wastes.
Wait, what do you mean, strange light?
Mirage or psychogenous luminance.
She does not elaborate the nature of this luminance further. And just how big is it?
No one knows for sure. It is like an awful mountain appearing from below the horizon and expanding to cover almost a third of your field of vision.
Is it dangerous?
The towering luminosity of Kokonur is a bad omen in local folklore. Some say it's a fata morgana, others, fate unimaginable.
Who here? No animal can be that large. It's a mirage.
That's what makes it so peculiar. A species surviving at the very limits of scientific law. The giant of Kokonur must be the largest animal the planet can support. There are limits, you see, to how large a metabolism an ecosystem can beget. Some say a gravity anomaly below the Kokonur Desert might allow the creature to grow to these gargantuan sizes.
Great. This is great shit. You need more.
What's the tiniest cryptid then?
Cryobacter catlensis.
She answers immediately. Cryobacter catlensis.
Yes, a unicellular bacterium that was discovered in one of the northernmost points of Kotla on the Boreal Plateau by renowned geologist Caitlin Mijanou some 70 years ago.
What's so special about it?
Bacterial colony Mijanou found had remained alive while frozen in ice for longer than anyone could reliably estimate, certainly from before recorded history. Mijanou disappeared shortly after injecting herself with the bacteria she had brought back to study, no doubt in hopes of prolonging her own life.
Wait, she injected herself with it? You mean there is an immortal geologist wandering the world? I don't understand. Why would you prolong your life? Being alive is terrible. I intend to live forever too, as a symbol. She was preparing for the end times. She wanted to witness and record the twilight proceedings. Immortal bacteria, immortal geologist? That's too wild. Okay, so some of those are copper types. That's, I suppose, Superstar Cop. That's Apocalypse Cop. That's Boring Cop. I don't think there's a Sorry Cop here. Let's go with the Apocalypse. Twilight Proceedings.
Mijanou did talk about the end of the world a great deal before her abrupt departure. Everyone thought the bacteria had driven her mad, but she really was a brilliant woman. Maybe the Cryobacter catlensis allowed her to see something no one else could.
Okay, let's go through the other options as well, though.
Yes, the bacteria. Mijanou disappeared shortly after injecting herself with the bacteria she had brought back to study, no doubt in hopes of prolonging her own life.
Wait, she injected herself with it?
Yes, the bacteria had survived in the ice since times immemorial. It is not hard to see where she could have gotten the idea.
It's actually a little hard to see, but do go on.
Yeah. If you inject yourself with something that doesn't die, it definitely means that you won't die either. That's the logical conclusion here. You mean there is an immortal geologist wandering the world?
Yes, and she's quite mad, too. After she treated herself with the bacteria, she stopped aging, but also became increasingly eccentric and irascible, so that even her oldest friends were forced to pull away. We can assume that she has been living somewhere in the wilderness for decades now, all alone except for the Cryobacter catlensis coursing through her bloodstream.
What's the most dangerous cryptid?
The gnome of Jeroma.
The Gnome of Jeroma? That sounds terrifying. The Gnome of Jeroma? That doesn't sound too bad. Sounds terrifying.
Oh, yes. None of its victims survived. Grieving relatives never even found their bodies because the gnome's venom dissolved organic tissue.
What did this cryptid look like?
It was reportedly a small creature with webbed fingers and a protruding forehead and a gangly little thing. Quite scary to look at.
Sure it was.
A couple of campers found it when it was already dying. They heard an odd wailing in the woods and followed the sound. They were scared and wrapped it in tarpaulin to suffocate it. It still took the Gnome of Jeroma an entire day to die.
She looks at you, her voice grave suddenly.
If the body of the creature was found, why aren't there detailed illustrations of it in science textbooks, confirming the existence of this very little species?
Alas, the first scientist who got his hands on the creature's corpse put it in a jar of formaldehyde, thinking that would detoxify the gnome's venom. Instead, all the venom leaked out of the creature's teeth and into the surrounding liquid, dissolving the creature itself. A poetic end, perhaps, but a real loss for science.
Yep. I believe that. Are there any invisible cryptids?
What an interesting question. And the answer is yes, there are.
Of course. All fairy tales have someone or something invisible in them.
You're right, Kim, it's childish, but I need to know. Shush, Kim, she's gonna tell me about the invisible cryptid. What is it? Shush, Kim.
It's the Col de Mamadaqua. Its name means thin whisper of sound, and that's precisely what it is. Self-replicating sound waves, invisible and intangible. The Col de Mama is very afraid of us, which makes it incredibly difficult to track.
What does it sound like? Could it be here? What evidence is there of this animal being a sound? Why is the Mamadaqua so afraid of us? Interesting. What about... Okay, what does it sound like?
Like nothing. It's such a high-pitched sound that us humans can't hear it, nor can other animals. It could be ringing right outside your window and you wouldn't even know it. Could be anywhere. Everywhere, even.
Fine, I'll bite. How can an animal be a sound?
Many scientists have asked the same question. Some have claimed that it isn't itself a sound, but a tiny corpuscle that emits sound waves. But there's no evidence to support this theory.
Could it be here? Look around right now.
It could be. As I said, it could be everywhere. And we wouldn't know any better. It could be ringing all the days of our lives and nights.
Maybe it's predatory.
What if it's predatory?
It's not. Don't worry. If it were predatory, we would have found it by the damage it inflicts.
I wouldn't be so sure. What if the damage is also invisible?
Thank you for that half-light. What evidence is there of this animal being a sound?
Plenty. It's the evidence that led to its discovery. In the 20s, a group of Areopagi ornithologists, that is, scientists who study birds, were trying out a new recording technology for capturing sounds outside the range of human hearing. When playing back recordings they had made in the foothills of the Ea mountain range, they noticed certain anomalies, patterns that seemed random at first, but on closer examination were consistent with the waveforms of songbirds.
Songbirds. Just not eagerly. Songbirds?
The scientists soon discovered they could track and even predict what appeared to be feeding, mating, and migration patterns based on sound waves in a strictly delimited range of ultrasonic frequencies, even higher than those of the highest pitched bat calls.
She transforms, when speaking about these strange animals, into a confident woman.
They realized that they had discovered a new species and called it the Col de Mamadaqua, after the Paracanassian name for the voice of God, which is said to be very silent.
Wow.
They grew quite obsessed with these little birds. Even though they couldn't see them, they could distinguish among individual birds and even began to name some of them.
Name them?
Sequester, Time, Joscan. Those are but some of the Mamadaqua they followed individually.
Why is the Mamadaqua so afraid of us?
That is a sad story. A group of university students assisting with the field work in their enthusiasm for the project, and no doubt because they were preoccupied with impressing their professors, nearly drove it to extinction.
Extinction?
They tried to communicate with it and had no other means but sound. So they started sending out sound waves at frequencies they thought might match the Mamadaquas. And what happens when a sound wave meets another sound wave of the same frequency, dear?
This lady really should be a teacher. She's really good at the explaining things thing.
I mean, they can cancel each other out or amplify each other depending on how the waves line up, but I'm gonna say cancel each other out because I know that's the correct one here.
Exactly. And these tests were performed so recklessly that when they happened upon the right frequency, well, they wiped out most of the population.
Great regret washes over her. A wending cloth.
After that, the corpuscle appears to have migrated elsewhere. There have been recordings of anomalies similar to those spotted in Ea, but they've been few and far between. It's impossible to confirm the presence of any stable Koltamama Dakwa population anywhere.
Of course. A common thread in these. Disappearance and unfalsifiability. I like the story, though, ma'am.
I'm glad you did, dear.
What about...
What about what?
Man, I just can't get enough of these cryptids.
I'm glad you like them. But I'm not really one to tell you about all of them. You should ask my husband if you get the chance. He's the real expert.
That's all for now. Thank you very much.
Tremble. The time is now. Ta'ola.
What time? Yeah, I don't think the time is now. Later, maybe. No, what time?
Time for the show. For Ta'ola. The hallowed time of fear and disintegration. A countdown has begun. All will collapse on itself. The world will disappear into a single grain of blackness. All sound will be muted. All life will scream.
Ta'ola, what's that?
Ulogu Theodos. Xeno Zausin. Ipoli Osidien. Echondes Fronisin.
Wait, when did this countdown begin?
Monday morning. The moment you arrived in this reality are the first crack in the sheer face of God. From you it will spread.
This is because of the insane world ending I've been saying, isn't it?
Yes, you spoke the words of the Palindropos and the houses of Pericarnassus. Items, people, even words will tumble. All will lose its meaning in the coming years. That is why you marked yourself.
Am I sure it's not just a joke or some kind of coping mechanism?
It's totally also a coping mechanism.
I'm a little afraid.
So you should be. The world island crumbles at your feet, and in the far plain, Palindropos. Perhaps, just a thought, this has something to do with the hangover.
I do think the world might end soon.
The face of the woman fractures. There will be herd killing. We all become vapor.
Great, let's see what that thought entails. Did we read all the flavor text for all of it? I think we did. Yes, I think we did. Cop of the Apocalypse. Temporary research bonus, -1 rhetoric for rambling madness. Research time 6 hours and 55 minutes. And the problem is, you woke up in a hotel room and started rambling about the end of the world. It's not your normal everyday doom crying either. Something truly colossal is approaching. The gloaming, the culling, the bloodletting of unimaginable proportions. Until now, you've been pleasantly vague about the precise nature of this cataclysm. No more. Put the bloodletting on the burner and really figure out what's threatening the fragile physical reality you just found yourself in. That's one I do also want to equip. This one I want to equip. We have Superstar Cop, yes, we have the Ravasholi Nationhood. I do also want the Cop of the Apocalypse and the indirect modes of taxation, and everything else will be just, you know, as we go, we'll decide which ones we equip. But this point will go somewhere else. This point will go into empathy because I still want to get that check with Kuno. So I'll do that. Right, the Tuesday tasks are here. This has unlocked. Very nice. Let's close that again. I'm quickly gonna save. I'm gonna head outside, walk past the Hardy Boys, and talk to Kuno. I'll talk to the Hardy Boys afterwards, probably. Oh.
Was that? Could it be? The Koldamama Dakwa? No, it's probably just your imagination ringing in your ear.
Is it? Is there a ringing? Listen more closely.
There seems to be an extremely high-pitched ring. Ultrasonic. Lena said it was very high-pitched, right? It's
Wait,
like something tickles your ear.
Wait, Kim, do you hear a high-pitched noise?
No, I don't hear the Koldomama Dakwa, and neither do you.
Stop lying, Kim.
Of course he doesn't. He's Death.
Let's listen closely first.
There it is again. You are about to rediscover a long-lost species.
And keep listening.
It must be very close. Maybe, just maybe, it will come toward you. What are you doing? You're a police officer, not a pansy ornithologist. The only birds you should be looking for are healthy women of childbearing age.
I hate physical instrument. Move your head towards the sound.
Oh no. The sound. It's moving away. Somewhere over there. Go after it. No. Too late. It's gone. There is no ringing anymore. Just the sound of the streets.
No, come back, please.
Keep your ears peeled, then. If the species really has migrated to Martinez, you're sure to hear it again.
This is one that I also kind of want to do. Col de Mamadagua, no temporary research bonus. 7 hours and 10 minutes. You heard it, the mysterious Col de Mamadagua. You're certain that you did. Well, maybe not quite certain, but let's say you're hopeful, because it would make you very special to be the only human being who can hear the invisible, incorporeal bird, this animated whisper, this particle of sound. You're going to have to keep listening, sharpen your ear, because I know the effect of this, and it gives you a pretty good amount of perception. So that could actually be quite useful for, 2 motorics. Would be nice, because our perception is only 2. That's not particularly great. So this is one that I will consider equipping. But first, one more thing. Tools. That is plus empathy. Our authority is in the bin, but that's okay for now. Let's talk to Kuno.